Start over. I forgot to record.
Oh, that's important.
Blooper number 1. Okay. First guest today is Monica of Pinot+Pistols on Instagram.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me.
This is my first one. I don't know what I'm doing.
Same.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about your Instagram page, what you do, what type of content that you're producing, and what's your overall goal as of recent with your page.
Yeah, so my Instagram is Pinot+Pistols, and they're kind of two very unrelated topics, but it's kind of fun for me. So on one side, I kind of dig into my journey into firearms and concealed carry, and then on the other side, I talk about my journey into Oregon wine country, specifically with Pinot Noir because it's my favorite wine. And it's been kind of fun for me to combine these two topics because they are so different, and so you kind of get that contrast between the two. But I've actually been able to draw a lot of parallels between the two journeys, so it's been kind of fun. But on the firearm side, since that's what we're mostly here to talk about today, I just started with basically wanted to document my own journey into concealed carrying and getting into firearms. And I wanted to be able to tap into a community of folks that were interested in those same topics. So that's kind of how it all got started. Really what my goal is now is to make these topics approachable because both firearms and wine can be really intimidating and there's so much to learn. And so I want to share what I'm learning along the way in my journey, but I also want to bring people along with me and make it a fun, approachable subject to dive into.
That's awesome. And I love wine too. I'm a Malbec guy though.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. And plus you're in Oregon. How's the gun culture in the area that you live?
It's interesting. I don't live in Portland proper, so I'm thankful for that. I'm a little bit outside of the city, and I've been able to tap into this awesome community of gun owners here. And so among that community, it's easy. Portland area, Oregon is a blue area, so it can be a little bit challenging at times, but I try to just put the politics aside and focus on what I'm doing in my, fun little community of people that I have here and try not to let it bother me too much.
That's awesome. And how many people do you shoot with that also participate in wine going activities?
There's quite a few, actually, and I found that there's a lot of crossover between the two sides. And I think what surprised me the most was actually the folks in the wine industry that came to me and be like, hey, I'm into guns too. Like, how cool. I'm so happy I found your page. So yeah, there's definitely quite a bit of crossover there.
That's cool. That's cool. So when you are shooting and training with live fire, how far do you have to travel to practice shooting?
Kind of depends on the vibe that I'm looking for. I prefer to shoot outdoors, just on public land. And so I go maybe 45 minutes or so out into the middle of nowhere. There are closer options, but I kind of prefer being outside and, not having to deal with other humans so much.
Yeah, same here. My wife and I, we shoot on our property now, but before we do belong to a range. It is nice to have flat land and all those paper targets, and I can run around like an idiot and do that. I don't exactly have flat range here. So behind my yard, it's like forests and rocks and running water. Yeah. And so it makes for a really interesting dynamic when I'm shooting, which is kind of nice not having flat range. Cause I have to be more technical with my footwork. So if I'm moving across rocks or across wet stuff or mud, I do have to be more technical, and I have to pick my shots more appropriately and gauge my speed differently, which kind of sucks though, because I do like the relay running and gunning where you have to run to your different points and shoot courses of fire, which is a lot of fun as well. I guess I can do that in the side of my house because I do have a lawn, so I could probably do suicides there and then shoot, but a little bit different.
What a terrible setup you have.
Yeah, it's awful.
Your property. It's just awful.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for you.
I've been trying to get my wife to go, it's too cold, I don't go shooting. I'm like, all right. But hopefully she shoots a lot more this summer. Yeah, no, I guess I can't complain about anything. I literally just got done. My buddy Pat came by. He does a lot of engineering industrial design for us. He's a contract engineer for us, and we were just out shooting my new high power. I'll have to shout them out since it's the first one. I just got it, but I got a Mark. Let's see if it focuses. A Mark III built 1969 Browning high power, and they put an asinine amount of work into this gun. Wait till you see this trigger. This trigger's stupid. So there's no uptake. It's just a wall, break.
Wow.
And then the reset on it is nothing. It's silly. But I was out doing one reload ones because it is a safety, single action safety gun. So I was drawing and getting the safety off while I pressed the gun. And I haven't done that in a long time, but it, picked up pretty quick again. So I'm going to carry the shit out of it. High powers are awesome guns. But have you ever shot high power?
I don't think so.
Oh, they're a treat. It's like what should have been. It should have surpassed the 1911 earlier on, but I don't know enough about the history of high powers, but they're pretty cool. Anyway, so your carry gun right now is a Glock 48 primarily?
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
Cool. I have heard some people said the Glock 48 has more recoil than the 43X, being more mass. Yeah, being like more mass in the slide and having the same recoil spring, but I don't know. How do you like your Glock 48?
I love it. I haven't spent any time with the 43X, so I can't compare it to that, but I did carry the 43 for almost 3 years. So it's a really nice upgrade from the 43. It definitely fits my hand better, less recoil, so on and so forth, and it conceals better, which was surprising. But yeah, I'm loving it. I'm really happy with it so far.
Yeah, you know why it conceals better.
Oh yeah, we've talked a lot about this.
Yeah, I wrote an article a while back for the Firearm blog on body contact, and if you are listening to this, you can go check out our main page on Google, our ANR design website. We have a blog tab there where I do have an article labeled pelvic contact, body contact for concealed carry. And we actually have one of your articles up there as well.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. So Glock 43, what motivated you to purchase that firearm specifically, and what made you take the plunge into wanting to carry a firearm?
Yeah, so let me go back in history a little bit and just kind of tell you kind of how things got started for me when it comes to firearms. So I grew up in California, not in a gun-friendly area whatsoever. We didn't have guns in the house growing up. It was just not a part of our lives. And when I moved to Oregon in 2014, I was living alone for the first time and just doing a lot of things by myself. I was going hiking by myself, road tripping by myself, all this kind of stuff. And I was totally comfortable with that. But after a little while, this idea started creeping into my head that, oh my gosh, like if something happened, if I was approached by a human or something that wanted something from me that I wasn't willing to give, I wouldn't have a way to address that situation effectively. So I started thinking about, okay, what can I do here? Like, are there tools that I need to acquire? Are there skills that I need to acquire? So on and so forth. And luckily I had a few friends at that time that were into concealed carry and into firearms, and they were both instructors. So I started doing some private instruction with them. And I wasn't necessarily thinking about concealed carry at that time. It was more so like, is a firearm something that I could be comfortable with for like home defense? But I wasn't thinking about necessarily carrying it on my person every day. And as I did more lessons, as I got more into it, I realized like, hey, not only am I really enjoying this and having a fantastic time on the range, but I feel like this is a tool that I am comfortable with, that I feel like I can dive into more when it comes to my own personal protection. And eventually, I started having more conversations with people about concealed carry, and I was like, hey, I think this is actually a really great option for me. So I started kind of diving down that path. When I was first getting started, I was going to ranges where I could rent guns. And so I'd rent, a bunch of different stuff. And since I knew I was thinking about concealed carry at that point, I knew I wanted something that was subcompact, single stack. So I kind of rented a bunch of firearms that fit that bill. And the 43 was the one that I liked the most at that time. If we were going through that same process now, I'm not sure if I would pick the 43, especially with more options on the market these days for single stack 9s. But yeah, at the time, it was exactly what I was looking for. And so that's how I ended up with the 43 initially.
Awesome. I also came from a pretty anti-gun. Look, I'm from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. So, but my neighbor was into firearms, and he had, he belonged to a local shooting range, and he also had a bow, and kind of, like, I worked for him for a while as landscaping when I was young, and kind of picked up guns through Boy Scouts, and then he would kind of steal me away from my parents for a few hours a month and take me shooting and stuff like that. So that kind of, thanks. Yeah, that kind of pushed me that direction. Your 43 was your first gun. What was your second gun, and why did you purchase that firearm?
My second gun was actually something that I inherited from my grandfather after he passed. It's a Derringer 22, little guy. So it was just kind of a sentimental thing that I had to beg my grandmother for after my grandpa passed, because I really wanted to have one of his guns. And from there, I don't have a large collection at this point, so I'm not just like buying up guns just to buy up guns. I do have a Mossberg shotgun that was technically my third gun. That one was sent to me, so not a purchase. And then, I stepped it up to the Glock 48. I wanted to upgrade my concealed carry and kind of have another option. But I forgot about my 19X. That was actually my second gun. My 19X is my second gun. I can't believe I forgot about Garth. Now I feel really bad.
Yeah, you should
All
feel
my
bad.
Guns have names, as you know.
I knew that was your second gun too, so I wasn't going to say anything.
You should have corrected me.
No, I was letting you tell a story.
Yeah, so my 19X. And that one, I wanted something that wasn't necessarily for concealed carry. I wanted a fun range gun, home defense gun, something that was a little bit bigger, more comfortable to shoot. And the 19X wasn't necessarily what I was looking for, but my favorite gun shop got one in that was used but never fired. So it was a really sweet deal, and I just couldn't pass it up. It was sort of an impulse buy, if I'm being honest. But I do love the 19X. I really like shooting it. So yeah, I'm a little bit of a Glock gal, as you know.
A Glock gal.
Yeah.
Well, they're good guns. I mean, they don't fit my hands per se. The undercuts are way too small. So by the time I make a Glock fit me, it's not a Glock anymore.
Right.
At all. But I mean, for certain people, I think they're good guns. Low bore X's, super reliable, not a lot of felt recoil. You can't really beat them for what they are. I wish they came with a little bit more bells and whistles. They're a little, yeah,
I think that's part of the reason why I like them, though, just because of the simplicity. Like I have a bit more of a minimalist approach, I guess, and I like that it's simple, and I like that it's easy to take apart, easy to clean. That was a big consideration for me too when I was getting into guns. Like, I did not want to overcomplicate things in terms of just being able to take care of general maintenance, and so I love that it's just super easy to clean and take care of all that stuff.
Yeah, 1911s are the worst. I hate them. Have you ever taken apart a 1911?
Nope, and I don't want to.
No. They have like a barrel plug that actually locks in place with the barrel bushing, and you have to rotate it and break it all apart that way. Like, it's not simple.
Right.
Which is funny because like the Browning High Power is super simple. It's your standard locker slide to the rear, wiggle and push your bar out, and comes apart.
Easy peasy.
And this gun came out around the same time. So it's kind of funny like how technologies work and why certain things were adopted and why other things were not. I don't know. I find it all interesting. Guns are kind of like an anomaly to me. As a mechanical engineer, for me, guns are just kind of like, oh, it's metal on metal with human applied lubricant cycles and fire and carbon. Like, it's not supposed to work. Well, I mean, it's obviously supposed to work, but it's not an ideal environment for what it is. So
I never thought of it that way. That's interesting.
Yeah, you know, it gets dirty and nasty, and it's literally metal rubbing metal and more rubbing metal while managing pressures and fire and all that. It's cool. As a mechanical engineer, I'm like, man, how do you make this better? So like for me, it was all in school. All I want to do is design guns. But now I know that there's very little money in guns in terms of selling them or manufacturing them. And it's a fucking arduous journey to get there. I'm like, oh, let's make accessories because it's easier. It's truth. It's truth.
Yeah.
I actually never really wanted to make holsters professionally. If you asked me like 10 years ago if I would own a holster company, like a successful holster company with 8 employees, I'd be like, no
way.
Why would I do that?
It kind of happened organically though, didn't it? Like, I think I remember you telling me that you started making holsters just because you needed one and you decided to do it yourself. Is that right?
Literally, yeah. Yeah, it was like, man, I forgot who I sent quotes out for, but at the time I had like an Insight MX6 light, which was like a really chonky light back in the day. And it wasn't on like a purchase list or like on the build list on this. I think it was Raven Concealment that I hit up. And they're like, sure, you're going to have to send your light in. We can make it with the light. Since this is a custom job, it's, you know, the holster was like $285. And yeah, and then mag pouches for it were pretty expensive. Back then, like the 2 or 3 kind of companies at the time, I mean, they controlled the market. They could charge what they wanted because people want, you know, something custom. And yeah, that was kind of it. They kind of made it real difficult. And I was like, $280. I just got out of college. I just got my first pistol. Like, what the fuck?
That's an investment. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so I was just like, this is wild. And then I had a roommate at the time, this gentleman named Elliot. He was like, dude, watch these YouTube videos. You work in manufacturing. You're a fucking project engineer. Put some stuff together. Watch these videos. Make your own holster. I'm sure you could figure it out real quick. And I was like, yeah. Watch the videos. I was like, oh, this is easy. This is not hard. Yeah, we actually started off doing 3D printed accessories.
Really?
Like we did like men's tie bars, cufflinks, money clips, and there was a company out of New York called Shapeways, and you could actually have like an account and you could upload 3D models to that, and then people can purchase them just by seeing the model, and they can pick the metal. So they can pick like gold. Like they can they have like the laser sintering printers, and they could actually go in and like click, oh, I want this made out of pure gold, and they could have like these money clips made out of gold, and we would design them that way. And it's kind of like what we started doing, and it paid for like holster supplies, and then we started making holsters. And I wore them to a class, and at my class they were like, hey, who made that holster? I was like, oh, I did in my basement. They're like, can I give you like $50 for a holster? And I was like, yeah, totally. Take my money, or let me take that money. I'll make it. Give me your address and contact info. Maybe I'll have you pick it up if you're local. Started doing it that way, and it was profitable from day one. So
that's awesome. Well, it seems to be working out pretty well for you.
Yeah, I can't complain. I'm happy. I mean, I really, honestly, Johnny and I, my business partner Johnny, who you met at SHOT Show, we did it to pay for ammo. We're like, let's do this to pay for guns and ammo, and then, you know, work our day jobs, and, you know, this will pay for our hobbies and stuff like that. So, but I mean, it's how things work, I guess.
Yeah, no kidding.
So you're building an AR-15 right now.
Yes.
And don't take this as an insult, but what's taking so long?
Well, there's a few factors. So it's my first build, and I don't know much about the AR-15 platform. So I wanted to use this as a learning experience, and I wanted to be able to share that experience as well. So part of the reason it's taking so long is simply schedules. Like, we're doing videos on every build. Josh at Oregon Rifle Works and I are like sitting down and chatting about every component. So that's kind of the biggest factor. COVID, of course, screwed everything up. Gun shops are slammed, continuing to be slammed. And so just, it's been really challenging to find the time to sit down and do videos. So yeah, we're a little over a year now. But we're almost done. We're trying to crank through the rest of it and get it all wrapped up. So
get it done.
So, yeah, I also have a really hard time making decisions on things that I know very little about. So that's definitely a factor too. It's like I get caught up in my head. I'm like, oh, but I don't know all the options. I don't have all the information. So like, how am I supposed to decide? So it's interesting. I'm learning a lot.
I understand. Sure. Now, when you do finish this AR, are you gonna like trick it out? You gonna put a light on it? You're gonna get a can for it? You gotta get a can.
Yeah, probably eventually. It's just a matter of like budget. Like I'm trying to be smart about, how much money I spend and what I spend it on and where and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, eventually. I mean, it's definitely not going to be one of those things where I finish it and then it's done. There will be iterations as we go for sure.
It's like adult Legos, like ARs come down like, and then once you get into like things like night vision, like now I'm into like night vision the last few years. Mm-hmm. Now I look at guns completely differently. Like I look at my pistols completely differently. I used to be like, oh, night sight's everything. Now I'm like, fuck night sights. Like night sights glow permanently, and then under night vision it's just giant blooming orbs on your, and obviously a red dot will supersede the glowing of a night sight, but it's one of those things now that's like, I don't want night sights. Why do I have night sights on that gun? Like that's the gun I'm gonna run. So now it's like all about capabilities for me.
Right.
I have a gun for like a night vision setup. I have a gun for my carry gun, and I rotate through carry guns quite a bit because whatever that new comes out, I'm like, all right, I want to carry that.
Yeah.
And I carried a Beretta for a long time. I carried a Beretta for almost a year.
Did you really?
I'm not even kidding. I just stopped carrying my LTT 92G Centurion. It was super comfy to carry. It had like an 18+1 round capacity, small gun, super comfortable, optic ready. But I don't like Berettas. I've always hated Berettas, and they have a weird recoil impulse. So as like the slide travels back into your hand, it pushes. The gun kind of comes up, and the way the geometry of the grip and how long those slides are and the mass of the slide, as that slide pushes forward, it kind of makes this wave motion. It's got a wave motion with the recoil impulse. And so if I'm running the gun really fast, like double taps with good cadence, like that second shot is not going where the first shot went. It's always either a little high and right, a little high and left, or a little high. I'm banging that shot at the wrong point. That plus when the trigger on that Beretta is at the point of releasing, it's not in the, like this is like a third into the trigger guard. Nah, Beretta's all the way back here. So I'm like hooking my finger all the way into the gun, all the way into the frame to get it to bang that shot, and then the release is only like a millimeter in front of that. So my finger's in a completely different position, and I feel like this, like holding a gun like this and the trigger stopping here is a lot more control on a firearm than having it kind of curl in and having less cantilever control over the firearm. So I carry it for comfort.
Yeah, especially as your fingers fatigue. Like I feel like that would be difficult to manage, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, the gun's good. Big open trigger guard. If you're wearing gloves, it's cold in winter time. You can get your fingers in there. It's easy slide to manipulate. They're bomb-proof firearms. You can fire them underwater. They can have water in them and still function fine. So, like, as a robust firearm, they're great. I actually carried it mainly because it was comfortable. It's very round. Like Berettas are really fat and round and stout, and for me, it carried really well. But it was a heavy little bastard, and this is like a completely different gun. This gun's like probably 5 ounces lighter. So and I like old guns. I carry like the CZ 75 series guns, and then I'll rotate to like a striker fired gun. Like I probably will carry, I have an AREX the new Rex 2.0 M, and that's actually pretty cool. Skinny gun, 15+1 round. So it's like a Glock 19 equivalent, but a little bit skinnier.
Yeah.
Super lightweight, really comfortable. It's a little snappy shooter, but the grip and ergonomics are really nice that it kind of like settles real quick. So I've been carrying that, and I'll probably carry that a lot in the summer because it's comfortable. But You got to shoot the new Walther PDPs.
Yeah.
You got to try them out. Yeah.
Okay.
Those guns are wild. We just talked to Walther the other day. We're gonna be making holsters for the new Walthers and stuff. Everything's great about them. They are everything that you want in a pistol. Best trigger on the planet for a striker fired polymer frame gun. So if you tricked out Garth to the 9s on his trigger, this trigger's still gonna beat it out of the box on a factory gun, which is pretty awesome. But we're launching the video for it on Sunday on YouTube, and it has a high bore axis. It's kind of like a 320. I'm really big into high bore axis. I'm still trying to like wait for a company to make the perfect striker fired pistol. The CZ P10 was like my favorite because it has low bore axis and all the bells and whistles, but I don't like slide stops on P10s. The slide stops are in such an inopportune location for me. I don't know. Have you ever bumped a slide stop while shooting and thinking that gun had a malfunction? Yeah. So that's my biggest qualm, and I don't have that issue with the Walthers. So I'm still like, I still love CZ. I still love these pistols. Whoa, Quadcast, come back. I still love these other pistols, but and like I can't. I'm just like you. Like I want all the options. I want everything. Right. I'm still waiting for that perfect gun to come out. Yeah, and it doesn't exist. It'll never exist.
I admire you in that regard, though, because like you're always carrying something different. You're always trying something different, and you get really technical about it. For me, like I'm kind of the opposite. Like I want consistency. I want the same thing every day. I don't ever want to change it. So my concealed carry journey is like less exciting in that regard because I'm not carrying like different guns every day and all this kind of stuff. But it gives me the consistent experience that I'm looking for, you know?
But that suits you. I mean, you are very new into firearms. You probably don't shoot as much as some other people. Right. You train a lot, which is great. It's awesome seeing you do all your dry fire and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm shooting like right now, I'm shooting like 55,000 rounds a year. Yeah. So an absurd amount of shooting.
Yeah.
And I shoot PRS competitions. I got, I think 18 matches this year. I'm going to try to hit 5 national matches. Awesome. Last year at the end of the season, I was ranked 17th in the Northeast from like Ohio all the way up to Maine as a PRS shooter. So I was pretty pumped. Missed the finale because we bought a house, but house is way cooler than going to some shooting competition, to be honest.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so it's one of those things. That's kind of like, again, my mantra is kind of like capabilities. Like what can I do to be a more capable person? I started hunting 4 years ago because I wanted to learn how to hunt. And it's actually made me observe habitats and the environment and the world around me a little differently. Right. But for you, you like consistency because you want to be the best that you can be with what you carry every day. Right. For me, I shoot so much that it's kind of standard. If you watch me, I'll actually come off triggers. I won't run reset the same. And I get flagged a lot on YouTube for it. That's because I shoot so many different guns that if you are good at shooting, you can actually come off the trigger and still bang really good shots. Yeah. But you're not going to limit yourself to one platform. So if I pick up an AK, I can run an AK. If I pick up an AR that has like a single stage, super short, crispy trigger, even if I'm coming off the trigger, I'm not going to short stroke it. I'm not going to short stroke an AK and cause a malfunction because I am coming off the trigger a bit. Do you follow a gentleman named Firepower United?
I don't think so.
All right, you got to follow Calvin. He's hilarious. He kind of got his notoriety for coming up with an alternate character called Fuck Long. I believe he's Vietnamese, but he kind of like parodies himself. But he's a really, really good competition shooter, and he shows a lot about like him coming off trigger and then showing his groups and showing his speed. And people a lot of times criticize him for coming off the trigger. But he shoots a ton of old guns too, kind of like I do. He has this affinity to like older style firearms and AKs and stuff like that. And the same thing is if you shoot enough, you have consistency, you can do things a little differently and not have it become like, you know, something negative towards your shooting. Right. You'll find that out when you're shooting your AR. It'll be fun. I'm excited to see you grow into that.
Yeah, thanks. I'm hoping to take some courses once I get it done, and so just kind of dive in a little bit deeper on that side of things.
That's gonna be like a home. I think the ANR is like the perfect home defense gun too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
smash everything. So how many classes are you taking a year right now? I know COVID and all that, but on average,
honestly, not a lot. And I told myself I was going to get it together this year and try to do more. It's not really working out the way I've planned. There's not a ton of amazing options for classes, at least not the kinds that I want to take with the type of instructors that I want to take here. So it would mean travel, and just with work and everything else, like that's hard for me to do right now. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
But I mean, COVID kind of screwed everything up and so on and so forth. If I can get into one really good class or like a weekend a year, like that would be awesome for me right now. But that's not a lot.
Right.
Like for, really solid shooters, one class a year is not going to cut it. I don't consider myself a really solid shooter. But yeah, I'm hoping to do more on that front.
Awesome. Actually, I have something to show you. It might actually help you with your training. All right. So this is a Walther Q5 SF match, but it has this little laser tip in it. You take that out, and that shows you. I'm gonna bang it off the gun, but it fires the laser when it has impact. And in here is a slaved barrel. It looks like a normal barrel, but it actually is a CO2 chamber.
Okay.
Now, the problem is I unscrewed my tank earlier, so I don't think... And you're supposed to use a wrench. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get that in. We'll see if I can charge it with... Anyway, so it's got a CO2 tank.
Mm.
And you charge the gun. I think that worked. I think I got it screwed in just enough. Anyway, so you got your gun here. CO2 has a piston in there.
Okay.
And the striker releases the piston, and you get full blowback and slide lock.
That's pretty cool.
And it comes with like one CO2 tank and this little charging station. It comes with a little carrying kit. And it's like full felt recoil. It's blowing that slide back. It comes with a recoil spring assembly as well.
Yeah.
And you get like 30 shots or so out of like one full charge. And that CO2 tank probably gets you 500 shots for $9 at full recoil. They're pretty cool. They're a little expensive. They're like $350.
Yeah. What was it called again?
Cool Fire Trainer. I'll see if they have one of your firearm models in stock once we start bringing them in. But holy moly, like I just sit there and just put my belt on, or I don't have a concealed carry setup for that, but I just put my battle belt on and just run draws, and it's wild.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an optic, you can see the laser where it's impacting. So you can mess with your trigger press. So you get full functionality of your firearm out of the system. And it's kind of, I haven't been shooting as much lately because I'm down to like my last 6,000 rounds of 9mm, which will only last me like a month, which sucks. So I've been dry firing. I've been using the Cool Fire Trainer to do all my dry fires lately, and it's a huge step in the right direction.
Definitely. I mean, especially just with ammo prices in general, it's really hard to keep up with that level of training. Yeah,
absolutely. We're lucky. We have some friends that import ammo and buy like stupid amounts of ammo and sell it to us at cost, which is amazing. But I've been shooting the shit out of that, and I've been just giving that pistol to my wife, and I was like, dry fire, and she's like, fine. And it helps her too, because her biggest fault in shooting is anticipation recoil. So, so you wear glasses. Does your astigmatism any issues with dots? Have you run dots on pistols? Do you plan on running dots on pistols?
Great question. I do have astigmatism pretty bad in both eyes. I have not experimented with dots at all. that's kind of a path that I haven't gone down yet. I would like to. But yeah, figuring out the eyeball situation has always been a challenge for me. So trying to get LASIK done, running into challenges on that as well. So I kind of want to wait until after that before I go down that path.
Is one of your eyes stronger than the other, and is it your not dominant eye, or is your dominant eye the stronger eye?
They're about the same.
That's good. Yeah, my wife is like pretty much blind in her right eye, and her better eye is her left eye by like orders of magnitude. So she can't shoot. She has to shoot cross-eye dominant. So she has to she can only shoot dots because of how bad her right eye is. Her dominant eye, her depth perception is warped.
Oh.
And we found this out because she was shooting. I put a suppressor on a gun and I stood above her. And at 10 yards, she was aiming 6 inches left of center off the plate.
Yikes.
Which explains all the damage to the right side of her car. She literally has like multiple feet of warped depth perception when she doesn't wear glasses. So
that's no fun.
Even with glasses. So she has to basically align her left eye with her spine and her red dot and shoot that way. And then she's on it. Yeah. But I really hope LASIK works for you. We called and got some quotes. They can't touch her because her right eye is like beyond repair. And then if they LASIK her left eye, then her right eye is just still going to pull dominance over the left. So the left, she won't benefit from it, I guess.
Yeah.
So super bummer.
I was a really good candidate for LASIK, but I have a pretty serious dry eye issue, and they won't do eye surgery on you if you have dry eye.
Oh.
So I have to figure out that whole thing first, which is extremely challenging because a lot of it's tied to allergies, and I have horrible allergies.
Oh boy.
So it's just this vicious cycle. It's awful.
Can you sleep with a humidifier over your face during the healing process?
That's basically what I do. But and I found this out recently. I have cats, and I've had cats for the majority of my life. Apparently, I'm allergic to them.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this until like 2 years ago. So a lot of my my problems with my eyes are actually because I have cats. But I'm like, I'm not going to get rid of my babies.
That's true.
Just so I can get LASIK. So, when they cross the rainbow bridge, hopefully things will get better.
Well, I mean, LASIK recovery is only like a week?
Yeah, it's pretty quick. But yeah, again, it's like if you have a dry eye problem, they won't do it. So.
Oh, that sucks. I was going to say if you could stay somewhere else for a month and let your cats be tended to and then kind of reverse that. But that's a bummer. I'm allergic to cats too, and I've lived with them my whole life as well.
Yeah. But I've gotten comfortable with the glasses. It is a little bit challenging with shooting. Like I probably shouldn't admit this, but I don't have shooting glasses, like prescription shooting glasses. So
that's fine.
I shoot my regular glasses. I shoot my regular sunglasses. It's probably not ideal.
I mean, are they polycarbonate? That's all that matters.
Yeah, but they're not like safety rated by any means.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of on my list for a long time, is to get some like legit shooting glasses so that, and I don't want to destroy like my normal glasses, right? So thinking about that.
As long as they're polycarbonate, you're really going to be all right. I mean, even not having a polycarbonate lens, something that's a shatter resistant lens.
Yeah.
I've never been hit in the eyeball with any. I lied. I've been hit in the face with frag off of a steel target, but I had glasses on. My buddy actually wasn't wearing shooting glasses a couple months ago, and he was doing subsonic load testing in a CZ 7.62x39 bolt gun. And he must have double charged it, and he wasn't wearing an eye pro because he was shooting through a scope. And I don't shoot with eye pro when I shoot PRS matches because a curved lens in front of all those other lenses actually creates a secondary parallax shift for me. So at 100 yards, I'll have the crosshair on the bullseye, and I might shoot a three round group, like high right, like a half-inch high right. Then I'll shoot another one, will be low right or low left, like it moves around on me, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I take my glasses off and I shoot perfect bullseyes. So he has a similar issue. He took his glasses off, because he was trying to do like load test. Well, he was trying to do like shoot a zero group. But when you're doing load testing, you always need to be careful. And those CZ firearms, because of the lug system, they're not like bomb proof. So basically he had a bomb blow up in his face, and he had brass frag in his eye, and he actually had to have surgery to have all the pieces taken out. Luckily he didn't lose his eyesight. But yeah, I'm not worried about my guns. I shoot a 3-lug 60-degree throw comp gun, and then I have a Kelbley's 2-lug comp gun. And the way those bolts lock, like you would have to essentially turn the entire barrel into a giant pipe bomb to actually have anything thrown back in my face. So they're super safe. I don't shoot with iPro. Yeah. And they're usually far enough away from other people that you're not going to take something to the face either.
Yeah, my concern though is that shooting isn't the only activity that I do where I should be wearing iPro. I do a lot of woodworking, and I feel like I'm much more likely to get a shard of wood in my eyeball than I am to have an injury while shooting. But still, it's like I should probably get some legit safety glasses.
yeah, you probably should. That's all right. So that'll be your goal for 2021 is to get some safety glasses before the end of the year. So yeah, let's see. So you got your AR coming. That'll be fun. I'm excited to see where it ends because I will have lots of suggestions. I can help put together the wardrobe for that gun in terms of like, if you want to go this route, do this. If you want to go this route, do that.
And it certainly won't be my only rifle. Like, I'm sure there's going to be more down the line for, different types of activities. But it'll be fun to get this one wrapped up for sure.
Sure. Are you going, so it's a 16-inch carbine?
Yeah, I have 14.5-inch barrel with the pinning weld.
Cool. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I just got into Rex Silentium cans. They're affordable. Like, and they give really good discounts for dealers. So I bought like 2 cans the other day. It was like $564 for 2 cans. I was like, what? No way. So it's dealer pricing, but still, they're pretty super affordable. And I've been running those cans, and they're like 8 ounces lighter than the Dead Air Sandman K that I have. They're so volumetric that they, just drinking carbonated drinks. They are so volumetric that you don't have muzzle flash. They're so volumetric that they don't have that pop that the Dead Air can that I bought has. Only con is under night vision, they glow like a forbidden popsicle. Like, they glow really quick. So under night vision, you can see infrared light, certain spectrums of infrared light. And when your can gets super hot, you can actually see it glowing. So it's definitely the first to glow on a shooting line at night, but doesn't have flames coming out, and the sound suppression is better than the other 5.56 cans that I have. And they're so cheap. Like 50% less than half the cans that I buy at dealer cost. So I've been running those. So that's awesome. Yeah. So the pros outweigh the cons in terms of like what I'm looking for in a can, because I used to just like go as robust as possible. Now I'm kind of leaning, once you have your laser, I run mauls. Mauls are super heavy. Lasers are heavy. Lights, I run, mod lights right now. They're not too heavy, but once you have all this stuff up front, your gun gets really heavy. So you can take like a 6.8 pound rifle, and it ends up being like a 9-pound rifle really, really quickly.
Yeah, weight's definitely a consideration for me, just as a female. Like, our upper body strength is not equal to a man's, and mine wears out pretty fast. And so if I'm running, a full day course, I want to make sure that I can actually lift my rifle by the end of the day. You know what I mean? True. So, trying to keep things relatively light.
I got a lady for you to follow if you don't follow her already. She just changed her Instagram name a minute ago. Taylor Thorne dot adventures. So TaylorThorne dot adventures. She's from New Hampshire, super nice girl, but I think she works for guns.com, or she did work for guns.com. But she basically is a competition shooter, 3-gunner, and we met her at the Aiming for Zero shooting competition a few years ago, which is suicide prevention, veteran suicide prevention. But she's tiny. I mean,
Yeah.
she is a very small human being, and she shoots 3-gun. So she runs like a long ass 5.56 gun, super lightweight build, but she's definitely someone to like follow, ask questions about, especially when it comes down to AR. She's really, really nice. So
Cool. Thank you.
yeah, and you can just say, oh, the ANR dudes suggested it. I ask you some questions, because that's all she does. But she's kind of in an interesting situation. She travels around the country in like an RV now, and she just goes on adventures and shoots competitions and writes. I think she's a writer now too, a firearms writer. So she's basically like on a permanent adventure, and how she affords her trips and all that. And she's a tiny person living on her own, so obviously she has similar challenges to overcome. How do I defend myself and all that? Right. So she's been a pretty good proponent of concealed carry and educating women for a long time. So another strong woman to follow.
Awesome.
Who do you like to follow on Instagram? Who have been your inspirations?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There's really so many. I follow kind of a wide range of people on Instagram. Like, there are folks that I follow just to learn about shooting. You know, people like Amy556. I love her. I learn a lot just from watching her. I follow a lot of gals that are more on like the concealed carry side, like Style Me Tactical, Emily. I love her from kind of the more like stylish gal, like concealed carrying and like integrating that all into your life. She's a really good one to follow for that. Yeah, those are the two that come to mind right now. I mean, there's a ton. And I follow girls and guys. I think as a woman, a lot of gals gravitate towards only following other women to learn about shooting or concealed carry from a woman's perspective. But I like to follow guys too, because I feel like I learn a lot from guys as well, even if it's not like something that's directly relevant for me in terms of concealed carry, like something that they do that maybe I couldn't just because of my size or shape. But I still think it's important to kind of take in all that information and learn about all the different sides of it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Amy's cool. I've talked to her a little bit. Question for you. This is just more of a personal shooting question. When your finger's on the trigger, do you center the trigger in the middle of your pad, or do you favor a specific side? Because my buddy and I were shooting today, and he's like, why am I shooting low and left? And I had a suggestion for him, and it worked out, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I think I kind of center it.
So
I don't know. I'll have to pay more attention to that.
So I shot center forever. Mm-hmm. And then as I got older, I had big ass hands. I end up sitting on the trigger right where the soft spot of the center meets that bone. And I started riding it right on that spot. And I started having much better consistency. And then that consistency was confirmed at a Ridgeline defense course. My buddy Alex runs a great class, a great course and training facility up north in New Hampshire. Probably, in my opinion, one of the best on the East Coast. But he confirmed that in a class, shot a pistol class with him, a 2-day combatives class. And he was instructing the students to ride that bone. And they all improved greatly. So I guess the theory behind it is the middle of your pad, it's kind of soft and meaty.
Squishy.
Yeah. So every time you go back to that trigger, you're not having the same consistency. It's squishy. Yeah. If you ride closer to that bone, every time you press that trigger, there's less tissue moving. You're going to have more consistency. And that goes back into, I can come off the trigger, and as long as I'm hitting that bone, I'm going to have higher level of consistency. Yeah. So something to think about when you're shooting.
Yeah,
definitely try to pay attention to that one little feature and see if it works for you.
Cool, I'll try it.
What else? So I've been thinking for our website of adding a women's tab under the Kydex builder. And we kind of had some flexibility with our quick ship options where we can program the hole patterns. So I was thinking of adding almost like a hole pattern selection, because I know that there's like a fabric clip out there. I haven't really messed with the fabric clip or really handled it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get with you offline and get a list of like what women like to use for belt clip options, because having the CNC machine, I have the capabilities of like maybe even offering a specific hole pattern for it.
Yeah.
And because I've always been like, women are the easiest to train. They listen. They are very conscious of their wardrobe, where most guys are like, I'm a muscly dude. I need to wear tight shirts, and your holster doesn't conceal with my tight ass shirt. It's like, bro, you're carrying a lump of metal and plastic in your pants, dude. You need to wear clothes that help conceal it. Holsters historically have been to hold a firearm. They're essentially plastic or leather buckets, right?
Yeah.
Only in the last 7 years has concealment claws been a thing. You know, a cantilever wing that helps turn the grip into the body. That's amazing. Why didn't anyone think of that before? So holster technology and holster development has like taken huge leaps in the past 5 years over the past 100 years. But people still consistently hit us up like, oh, this gun, I got this without a claw and it doesn't conceal. Cool, dude. I can't help you with your wardrobe. I can't help you that you wear a soft, sloppy leather belt that you've worn for 20 years. You have to pick your wardrobe. And you've been a huge inspiration to a lot of people I know. Like my wife follows you. She loves watching your page on how you conceal and the different outfits you show off and how you choose to conceal carry. And my wife has a similar like wardrobe to you. She likes to carry, and when she does carry, she dresses appropriately. You know, so you do have a lot of people that think that, you know, the holster and the gun is supposed to do all the work. And then we talked a little bit about pelvic contact and body contact earlier. That's another thing. People buy these micro tiny pistols thinking that they're going to solve all their concealed carry problems. But in actuality, because we'll just talk about it real quick if people haven't. Let's say this is a subcompact where my hand ends is the muzzle. Well, the belt clip on the holster is, actually, I'll just put it in the holster. So the belt clip symbolizes where your belt goes. If your muzzle of your gun stops right below the belt and you have mass above it, it's gonna, and you don't have all this extra meat of the muzzle touching your body, that gun's gonna tip away from the body. You're a soft person. Not everyone's made of steel. That muzzle is just going to sink into your tissue, your muscle, your fat, whatever. And the top of the gun is going to tip away from the body. And something like a P365 that everyone buys for concealed carry will actually print more than carrying a Glock 19 per se. So people don't have that visualization in their mind when they buy a gun. They think, oh, it's small and dainty, it'll conceal well, I'm a woman, or I'm a small man, or this is the outcome that I am looking for. But in reality, they're just really making more headaches for themselves. So that's the whole philosophy behind body contact. The more muzzle you have against your body, the gun will push that mass into your body, and your body resists, keeping the gun more vertical and concealing better. So yeah, I want to offer like a woman's tab. I don't think there is too many companies out there that does have a woman's tab. And we can make it in a way that they can, oh, I want a fabric clip, so we know to cut that whole pattern. Yeah. Ulti-clip, I think Ulti-clip has an option now that is, so people that don't know what Ulti-clip is, it's a fabric clip. They're a little bit rudimentary. They're sheet metal. I don't know. Have you ever messed with Ulti-clips?
I had one.
Okay.
I no longer have one.
Okay.
Put it that way.
I know that they chew apart fabric.
Yes.
Pretty heavily. They wanted to sell clips to us, super expensive too. Like even dealer cost, there's very little profit for us to make on a hard line. But so that's an option. They finally came out with one that's like extended, so it could mount to these screws here, and then the clip ends up being up here. That's an option. But yeah, I'll have to get with you and, you know, your breakdown on what ladies are using these days for concealed carry clip options and how we can accommodate that better. Because we're just looking at, you know, we're pretty good at breaking down our products. We have like 2.8 million combinations of holsters, but if we had a ladies only tab, it's kind of the way we got to go too.
Yeah, but I think a lot of these concealment tricks that you see women doing, like, will work for dudes too. One of the things that I've noticed over the last few years is that dudes tend to have one setup. They're like, okay, this is my holster, this is my belt, this is my firearm, this is how I carry every single day. And there's not a whole lot of variation in a man's wardrobe for the most part. When it comes to ladies, it's like, we have so many more factors to contend with, not just with our like body shape, but it's like, we've got different rise of pants, we've got different types of tops, we've got, so on and so forth. Like, there's so many different ways that we could carry. And we have to make adjustments on a day-to-day basis, depending on like what clothes we're wearing. Like, I will have a very different experience if I'm wearing a high-rise pant versus a low-rise pant. Like, it's night and day. But I think women are a little bit more willing to experiment when it comes to concealed carry because, and blanket generalization maybe, but for the most part, women like playing around with their wardrobe. They like, trying on different outfits. They like going shopping. They like, playing dress up in their closet, like so on and so forth. And so it's easy for us to kind of throw on like all these different holsters and different belts and different options and like find what's going to work best for us. Whereas I think men are maybe less willing to experiment in that manner. So yeah, I think the ladies are really good at finding, good concealment options. And I don't know, for me, like, I don't have a ton of variation in the different kinds of holsters that I use. Like, I am like 99.9% of the time carrying appendix. Like, you're never going to see me in a bra holster or, something like that. And I tried really early on to carry at like 3 or 4 o'clock and it just didn't work for me. And so I stick to appendix. And so I have probably less variation than some ladies have in what they like to carry with. Cause again, like, I just want that consistent experience when I carry. But yeah, I mean, when you guys started offering the discrete carry concept monoblock, that like changed the game for me.
Good.
And now I'm like going down this path with discrete carry concepts where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to put a discrete carry concepts clip on every holster that I own. Like, I need it on everything. I've been talking to them, like trying to figure out like best options for all my holsters. Because it changed the game. And like, the monoblock is awesome, but they have so many other options for like beltless carry because a lot of ladies don't like to wear a belt. And if that's your jam, like, cool, I like to wear a belt.
Yeah.
But there are lots of ladies that don't. So yeah, I mean, there's so many different things to try these days, and it can get overwhelming. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've had as a challenge in my concealed carry journey is just, there's just too many options. There's so many options.
Right. And you have a lot of ladies that like to carry or like to wear spandex, like elastic waistband type stuff. And like, what we make in a concealed carry Kydex holster is you want an element of retention so that the holster may turn upside down and not necessarily just fall right out. Some type of friction, and that friction is going against physics with ladies' elastic waistbands. The waistband wants to stretch, so there's more travel for the woman to get the gun out of the holster. And that's if it actually grips out the gate. So, I'm glad you're a huge proponent of belts. I think that's anyone that asks like, oh, well, this, that, and another, how do I carry in this wardrobe? My next suggestion is like belly bands. Like, you're not going to it's going to conceal the firearm up against the body. You aren't going to have the level of retention that we have with our Kydex holsters, but you're going to have a little bit more travel to get your shirt out of the way to get the gun out. But if you practice, it's a super good concealment option that I've observed because there's no resistance pulling the opposite direction, or there's no flexibility in it going the direction that you're drawing. It comes out. You might have to fish for the gun a little bit deeper. You have to be really conscious of trigger finger awareness, but that's the carry belly band. Oh, well, it's going to get hot in the summer. I'm going to sweat. Well, you're carrying a lump of metal in your body, like on persons to defend yourself. Do you want to sweat a little bit or die?
No, sweat or die. You pick.
We'll just do the extremes.
Yeah. But I mean, like, and that's something that I think a lot of people carry with concealed, or that struggle with when it comes to concealed carry, is that they're so worried about their comfort. And it's like, yeah, but you have to realize like you are hiding a firearm on your person. It's not going to be as comfortable as lounging around the house in your sweatpants. Like, first and foremost, you just have to like mentally prepare yourself to where like, okay, this is not going to be the most comfortable thing in the entire world, but you get used to it. And there are all of these tips and tricks that we can use to make ourselves more comfortable. But you also have to keep your safety in mind too. Like, there's so many holsters on the market these days, especially marketed towards women, that in my opinion are not safe. If you can pull the trigger through the fabric, like that's a problem.
Yeah, huge problem.
And women, especially, just because these products are marketed to us, it's like, we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go for, I don't want to call anyone out specifically, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for this particular holster because it's going to be so comfortable. Yeah, but you could also shoot yourself.
Yeah.
Holstering your firearm. And it's like, you have to really carefully consider your safety when it comes to this, and like weigh, okay, like how much am I willing to compromise my safety for comfort?
Right.
I'm not willing to compromise that specifically. Like, I would much rather carry in pants with a belt and my master blaster any day of the week over some other option that's going to compromise my safety.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's the same way. She's like, if she can pair of shorts, her gun belt fits through it, she's gonna wear a gun belt, she's gonna carry her gun. Right. And she carries a X-Carry SIG with a Delta Point Pro. So she carries a full-size gun. Because she doesn't give a fuck. Like, at the end of the day, she's like, oh, I'll wear a baggier t-shirt in the summertime. She wears like cutoffs a lot because we're old school hardcore kids, so we'll just cut the sleeves off of our tees and wear them baggy, and she doesn't give a shit. But obviously there's a lot of wardrobes out there. People want to look sexy in the summertime. In the spring, they want those wardrobe options. What are your thoughts of like, I'm going to use the word sexier, but there's sexier carry options out there, like Dean Adams. Is it Dean Adams? Yeah. So she makes like lacy stuff. It's like belly bands and stuff, but they're lacy. So like if a shirt does come up, you're kind of distracted. Like, oh, lace. Like, you don't expect it to be like a carry solution. What are your opinions of that kind of stuff? Yeah.
So like, I'm not a girly girl, so I tend to steer clear of things that are lacy. Like, it's just not my jam. Like, I'm in flannel like 99% of the time, let's be honest. But what I've found with a lot of those options, like put aside what we already talked about with like being able to pull the trigger through the fabric, they bury the grip of the gun. So it really, in my opinion, would impede my draw. And one of the biggest things for me when it comes to concealed carrying is being able to effectively deploy it, right? And if I can't get to it or can't get to it easily, that's an issue. So if a corset holster or something like that is completely burying the grip of my gun and I can't draw, then it's not an option that I would consider for concealed carry.
So opportunistic draws are something that I was like doing a lot of research into over the past couple of years. There was this hitman in the Philippines that used to carry a Browning high power in his pants below the belt line. And he would stick his hand into he would carry appendix, but left side. And what he would do is he'd put his hand into his pocket and he would push, he had a special holster, like a sleeve, but he would push the gun up with his left hand and almost launch the pistol into his hand, and then the gun was up and he would shoot one-handed, which is fine if you train all the time. But he was an assassin, so nothing on the waistband. He could lift his shirt up, you wouldn't know he had a gun, but then he sticks his hand in his pocket and the gun's in his hand almost instantly. With belly banded holsters, have you ever, now I know you got to clear the garment out of the way before reaching for the gun, but and I've never obviously tried this, I don't own a belly band. I already have a tactical muffin top. Like, I don't want to, tighten that down any bit, but is there a potential to like sweep the muzzle of, if it is in the belly band, and sweeping the muzzle like this with your support hand, pushing the gun out faster? Is that something you can do? This is an honest to goodness question.
Potentially, but why would you? I don't know. For me, like, I do have a belly band. It's the crossbreed modular belly band, so it has a Kydex insert that Velcros in there, and it doesn't bury the grip of my gun. So it's a very similar experience to how I would normally carry. I don't have it up super high though. And like I normally wear high-waisted pants. And so I find that the belly band kind of falls in just that same region of what I would normally do. So I don't feel like I have any issues with my draw. I kind of do the same thing that I would always do. One thing that I've been really working on over the last few years, I had a gal on Instagram, Brittany May. She's a amazing firearms instructor down in Vegas. And she was watching some of my dry fire videos a few years ago. And she was like, hey, do you mind if I give you some feedback on your draw? I'm like, yeah, like please do. And what she called out was that I wasn't pulling my shirt up high enough, and I was kind of dropping my shirt before I had cleared my holster. And so she suggested, and she sent me some videos to kind of back this up, of basically getting my shirt up to my chest. So when I draw, I pull my shirt up high and I pin it here so that I can draw. And I find that no matter what holster I'm carrying in, no matter the rise of my pants, if I'm carrying in a belly band or something else, I never have an issue with things getting in the way or me having a hard time drawing. So I try to drive like that consistency just so that no matter what I'm carrying with, I have the same experience every time.
I agree that everyone on Instagram is trying to go fast for videos and stuff like that. And there's a couple ways to draw. Some instructors teach you don't scoop the shirt from the bottom, but like punch into your body, grab and rip.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do.
And that works. I wear undershirts. I know that you do too. I wear like tank tops, and some people are like, oh, you carry. I wear a tank top because, well, one, Nas wore a black tank top during the VMAs in like 99 with a red leather jacket and a black tank top. And I was like, that was cool. Like, I'm gonna wear black tank tops because Nas wore a black tank top. And then I got comfortable wearing them. I was like, these are great. And then I started carrying guns and I'm like, man, so happy I wear tank tops. Yeah. Because they shred, your gun shreds holes in it, and then the grip shreds holes in my t-shirt. But one thing I do find for myself if I'm punching and grabbing is I'm pulling both shirts out of my pants. So if I tuck in my tank top into my pants and then have my t-shirt over, so when I'm training, I try to hook and grab. So I'm not always trying to reset an undershirt every time. But then, so if I'm like, if there's a moment of actual need to get my gun, I'm just going to like punch into my body and grab everything I can and rip up as high as I can. So there's nothing in the way. And a minute ago, I mentioned opportunistic drawing. A lot of people, because of the internet, they go for these super fast, got to get my gun out and do all this shit. And if I can get my gun out and do a sub-second draw, I'm going to blow this dude away. But it's like, if you watch people that actually carry professionally and actually do engage in violence of action while carrying a firearm, there's a really good video from Brazil like 10 years ago. This robber, everyone's in line at like a money teller desk. It's not a bank. It's like, like a money exchanger, get your paycheck or whatever the hell it is. They're all in line. And he's got a cell phone. He's got a nice watch on. And this robber comes up to rob him. And he drops his wallet on the ground. So the robber's tunnel visioned on that wallet. He does do something that none of us should ever do, but he uses a woman as concealment. He drops his wallet on the ground and the woman's right next to him. And he basically goes behind her, draws his gun. And then as he breaks the other side of her, he just ices the dude. Yeah. And he used his environment to his advantage to draw his firearm without the guy noticing because he was too busy trying to pick up a cell phone and a wallet and get out of there that he didn't even notice the dude use the woman as concealment to get his gun out. So some people are like, oh, he used her as a meat shield or whatever. That's not the case. He needed an opportunity where the guy wouldn't see him going for that burn into our eyes action of drawing a gun. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. A lot of people hit me up in the wintertime. They're like, hey, you carry a revolver. What are you carrying? And I was like, oh, I carry a Smith & Wesson 360 hammer fired gun. And I actually carry it in my jacket pocket. It's got a 7-pound trigger pull. I can shield the hammer with my thumb if I need to, so I can pull it out of my pocket quick or shoot from my pocket and not have a hang up. And, in the wintertime, you got layers. My philosophy has always been one layer between you and your gun. But if you have a heavy duty, long zipped up jacket, a lot of ladies like the longer to the middle thigh of their, mid thigh length jackets. How are you supposed to get to that gun?
I never zip my jacket up.
Well, That's good too. But there's circumstances where it's like,
yeah. No, I know. There are certainly circumstances where it's freaking cold and you're outside for a time. You have to zip your jacket up. I don't experience those circumstances.
Yeah.
So I don't zip my jacket up.
Yeah.
That's just what works for me.
Yeah. So I did. I do, because it's fucking negative 20 degrees most of the time here in the winter time. I'm like, exposed skin and flesh. I'm gonna die. So yeah, I pocket carry a revolver, and people are like, oh, is that safe? Like, yeah. Like, I'm not walking around with my finger in the trigger, and I'm going to slip on some ice and pop it off. I kind of like cradle people. Like, well, how do you carry it in that situation? I kind of like do this, like my whole hand over the gun while I'm walking around with it. Yeah. And I think that's a safe way to like at least just manage it when it's in your pocket, and also keep the weight out of your pocket so it doesn't look like there's something heavy in your pocket. Yeah. But people are like blown away why I do that. It's like, but if I can't get to my carry gun or a backup mag that's, because I'm wearing a heavy jacket, like this is an immediate action that I can do with a revolver.
Right.
Stay dynamic. So, women can also apply that same technique. Like, you might have a carry gun, but you might also consider carrying a revolver in your pocket and just making sure you don't leave your jacket somewhere if you go to a restaurant. Yeah. Like, I generally, when I go to a restaurant, what I'll do is I'll put my jacket on the back of the chair, and then I'll pick up the pocket that has a revolver in it, and I'll lay it on the seat right behind my butt. So I know if someone walks by and they bump it, they don't bump a gun in a pocket, and I know where it is at all times.
Yeah. I think that's a huge consideration for ladies too, especially that carry, off body. And that's not a situation that I partake in. I do not like off body carry, but I mean, if you're carrying in a purse, for example, you have to think through those kinds of situations, because the purse is going to be the first thing that someone steals if they're trying to rob you. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Why would you? I hate off body. Anytime anyone was like, do you have a suggestion for a purse holster for my wife? I'm like, no. Like, carry a belly band or carry one of our holsters and wear a belt. Like, you're carrying a gun to protect yourself, not an accessory. Yeah. So yeah, good point with off body. I was going to actually bring that up, so thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. So general consensus, fuck off body. Don't do it. I mean, obviously there's circumstances where you might have to, but try not to.
The only situation I carry off body is in a fanny pack. And I don't necessarily consider that off body because the fanny pack is attached to me.
Right.
And I only do that when I'm like bike riding or something like that, where appendix carry isn't really an option because I'm hunched over on a road. Like, I'm a road bike. And so it's like, I'd be stabbing myself with my firearm if I were to try to carry appendix while cycling.
Yes.
But yeah, so fanny pack is like the only thing that I will do in terms of off body.
Same here. I do fanny pack with a revolver in the summertime if I'm going to the beach. I have swim trunks on. I have a pair of shorts that I can't successfully carry a firearm in. Depending on the weight of the firearm, you can carry with like gym shorts on. If you crisscross your first right over left underneath the belt clip of ours, so it tightens the gun to the body, and then do another right over left, left over right loop over the belt clip, you can actually secure your holster tight to the body if you're wearing a drawstring. Yeah. So that is an option. I probably should have done a video on that on YouTube. I'll add that to the list. But yeah, summer carry, people want to wear comfy shorts. I don't. I just wear, I either wear like cutoff jorts or like Born Primitive. They're so tight. My wife's like, what the fuck are you wearing? It's like, they're funny. Like Vietnam Tiger stripe, like skin tight fucking jorts. And you mentioned earlier you don't like carry at 4 o'clock. I can't either. I can't. Guns stab my butt. Like, legitimately, guns stab my butt. I was born with childbearing hips. Like, I'm not, my waist where my belt is, my hips go out another like 2 inches on either side. I can't help it. Yeah. Like, I'm built like Nicki Minaj. I can't help it. So guns stab my ass.
Yeah. For me, it's not that so much, but it's just my draw. Like, I have limited flexibility in my shoulders, and I can't get back there to effectively draw.
Yeah.
So even if it's more comfortable for me to carry in that position, I'm not going to do it because I can't get to my gun.
Yeah. I mean, even carrying tight to the body OWB holsters, if I carry farther back there, like, it still stabs me in the butt.
Yeah.
All right. So I do have a couple of questions that I want to wrap up with. So we answered most of them. Let's see. So when you first came on Instagram, you hid your identity for a long time.
I did. Yeah.
What was, you don't have to give the reason behind, but what was the reason for you to unhide your face?
So initially, I kept the firearm side of my life extremely private from my friends and my family, some of my family, and mostly at work. I still keep where I work confidential.
Yep.
I know you know, but let's not talk about that
No,
here.
I know. That's all private.
But, I don't work in a gun-friendly environment. And at the time when I started Pinot & Pistols, I was still really new in my career with the company that I'm at. And I wanted to be really careful about how I presented myself on the internet. And even though I don't have my full name or anything like that associated to Pinot & Pistols, I just want to make sure to be really careful. So I felt like I had to, hide my face for a long time. And I noticed that there's a lot of women that do that on social media for various reasons, and dudes too, depending on, what line of work you're in, so on and so forth. So I did keep it hidden for quite a while. And I kept it hidden, in real life too. And I was getting to a point where concealed carrying firearms was becoming such a big part of my life. And I felt like I was living a double life. Like I was one person on Pinot & Pistols on the internet. I was one person in my personal life. And it was honestly really stressful. I felt like I just couldn't be myself. I felt like I couldn't be myself on Pinot & Pistols. I felt like I couldn't be myself in my real life. And I did a social media sabbatical where I took a month off of social media, and which is really nice, by the way.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. And when I came back, I was like, I got to change my strategy. This is not working for me. So I came out, I revealed my face on Pinot & Pistols. I'm like, hi, it's me. And I also came out in my personal life. So on my personal Facebook page, with my family and my friends and my coworkers and all of that, I was like, hey, here's the me that you know. And I posted a picture of me at a winery with my glass of wine, yay. Here's the me that I know. I'm all of these things, right? This is how you know and love me. But I'm also a firearms owner, and I also conceal carry, and I also care about the Second Amendment, and so on and so forth. And I kind of introduced that side of my life to all the people in my personal life at the same time that I revealed my face on Pinot & Pistols. And honestly, I'm so much happier. There are certainly people in my life that are not cool with guns and that do not agree with my approach on this at all. There are a few that have left my life because of that, and that's okay. But I still have a lot of people in my life, two of my best friends, not into guns at all. They hate them, but they support me. And I don't know, it was kind of this really sort of empowering, amazing experience to be able to have the people in my life say, I don't like guns, they're not for me, but I love you and I support you, and I'm gonna, be here for you no matter what.
Those are real friends.
Yeah, for real. I picked some good ones.
I lost a lot of friends owning a firearm business, and a lot of people that were never truly my friends, that I realized were never going to truly be my friends anyway. And I'm kind of one of those people that gets FOMO. I do get FOMO. I do get sad when someone doesn't like me. And I spent a long time in this industry building up friendships in the Instagram community, similarly, because people in my real life felt differently. And there's a lot of people in my personal life that think because I own a gun-related company that I was pro-Trump or all this other stuff. And I'm no, I hate politics. I hate all politicians. Just want to be left alone, live in the mountains, and own what I want to own. Like that t-shirt that's I want my interracial gay neighbors to be able to grow weed, own firearms, protect their property, and adopt children without a problem. That's my philosophy. Just leave people the fuck alone. But because you own guns, people automate, oh, you're a Trumper and all this other stuff. And not to talk politics, I hate it. But yeah, I lost a ton of friends. But I realized those people weren't listening to what I had to say. They were listening to what the perception that they had in their mind versus, the actuality of the situation. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was really interesting. But so many doors have opened for me since coming out on Pinot+Pistols, since coming out in my real life. Like, I look at my circle of friends now, and it's been about 2 years since I revealed my face online. But my circle of friends now, both on the wine side and on the gun side, are mostly people that I've met via Instagram. And it blows my mind. And I'm like, what would I do without these people? Like, I have such a tight-knit group of friends now that I've met because of Instagram. It's crazy. Yeah,
there is a line with Instagram, and I feel the same way. I have a lot of friends I met through Instagram, and I have a lot of people that are no longer in my life because of Instagram, that I met on Instagram. We got the business to a point where we're selling to major gun manufacturers. We're selling to the U.S. military. We're selling to international militaries. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have our company's head above that whole social media water. Yeah. And every once in a while we dip back into it, depending on what kind of projects that we're working on and stuff like that. But as a whole, it was nice to kind of get my head above that. I still have all my Instagram friends, that core ones that still from day one, still homies. But there's a lot of people that also took advantage of us. And I am a very honest person. I wear my heart on my sleeve, sometimes a little too much. Sometimes I show my grumpiness for people that don't go out of their way to answer their own questions or try to educate themselves. I love and respect people when they go out of their way to learn and they take those strides before asking questions. You're one of those people, you do all this research into what you want to do, and then you ask minutia level questions to people that you confide in or can trust or respect or whatever. Hey, I'm at this wall and I don't know how to pass this point. What information can you pass to me that might help me get past this? That's what people should all do. And so sometimes I get caught up with that on social media where I'm just I'm not fucking Google, okay? Google it. What barrel length with what grain weight is going to do the best for shooting a deer in the fucking face? I'm I don't know. Don't shoot a deer in the face with a 5.56. How about that? Use a more appropriate caliber for hunting. Just shit like that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, social media can be really frustrating, and I think that it's dramatically changed the way we interact with other people. And it can be not super fun sometimes. But when you meet the right people, it doesn't matter if you met them online or not. That's the cool part.
Yeah. Now, being a woman on social media in the gun industry, do you get creeps often?
Yeah, we all do. I've been seeing less of it lately, though, and now that I say this out loud, I'm sure it'll come back in full force. But there's a lot of gals on Instagram that like to give those guys attention. They'll post the screenshots and they'll, tell other friends hey, go hate on this guy and so on and so forth. I don't put my time and effort into those kinds of things. So if I get a creepy message from someone, I just block and delete. I don't respond. And so I think people have kind of learned that I don't tolerate that bullshit. And so they kind of leave me alone, which is nice.
Good. Yeah. Entertaining the terrorists gives them power.
Yes, exactly.
I stopped blocking a lot of people on my page. I just let them talk shit. Built enough community where someone talks shit and they just get consumed by other people. Anyway, in closing, is there anything else you want to touch on while we're here? I think we're at an hour and 30 minutes. We'll trim a little bit off, but
all good. Yeah. Anything else I want to touch on here? I would like to give a word of advice to the ladies out there, and even the dudes, to anybody out there trying to get into concealed carry. It can be really overwhelming. And I think that prevents a lot of people from moving forward in their journey because there's so much information, and it's once you start to learn, it's just oh my gosh, there's too much. Just take it one step at a time. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. Take it one step at a time, and don't compare where you are getting started to someone else that's been carrying for 10 years.
Awesome. That is great advice. If you practice occasionally and you just dot your I's and cross your T's, in that as long as you have good fundamentals.
Yes.
Honestly, it really comes down to fundamentals for training. You got all these dudes doing high speed, low drag stuff on the range, setting up crazy ass courses of fire. But if you just practice fundamentals, your brain automatically goes back to your foundation, and your foundation is going to supersede any situation. Granted, having the capabilities and being like, oh yeah, I could do this and shoot through this wall, and here's some video game bullshit. You know, I did notice that in a class recently. I shoot mostly fundamentals, or like people ask, oh, do you train when you go for bird hunting? No, I shoot birds. I don't shoot clays because clays don't move like birds. Right. You know, I've been doing a lot of hog hunting. That's completely different. You know, it's so different than shooting steel or paper, you know, and so it's things like that. Like if you just run core fundamentals, you're going to be better at everything. And your brain, we're humans. Our brains can break down patterns and break down situations and see ins and outs of a bad situation. And you're never going to be prepared for any type of emergency situation unless you have a core fundamental base. Yep. So
totally agree. And I think getting good training early is really important too. Like you see so many people that, you know, they learn from their husband or, you know, Joe Schmo down the street, like whatever, and they're not being taught proper fundamentals. And so I think it's really important to like vet your instructors and get formal training early so that you don't have to go and break those bad habits later.
Even better advice. I agree. Yeah. Don't listen to all the internet. Make sure you do your research before listening.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Monica, thank you so much for being our first guest ever on the ANR Design Unholstered podcast. This will probably air in a week or so.
Cool. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is my first podcast ever too. So
awesome.
A lot of firsts here today.
Awesome. Well, happy Friday. Get your wine drank on.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a box of wine somewhere. I do. Solid. I'm not kidding.
Hey, boxed wine has come a long way.
It has. A boxed wine of Malbec. I'm pumped. I like the chocolatey notes with the cherry notes. Anyway, well, thank you so much, and we'll touch base after.
All right. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the ANR Design Unholstered podcast with Alex Costa.